Sir, but when you say about the para commando, the training is very intense. It is very like a hell.
The training was tremendously intense. It was so intense that at times you had to, switch off your mind and carry on with your training.
So you said that you were trained to handle weapons during your para training. So which is your favorite weapon like during training? Everybody has.
During our days, again, I'm talking about
Right.
94.
Right.
Things have drastically changed today. So the best weapon which I used during my training was a Uzi.
Okay.
Yeah, I love to fire. I used to love to fire AK also.
Sir, I just want to know, like, you have been in the army for 32 years, you have served so much, you know everything, you have experienced so much. What exactly Pakistan wants?
What does Pakistan want? Okay. So, Pakistan, if you see on any international forum, be it the United Nations or any goddamn forum where the Pakis would like to just go and blabber around, they are fixed on only one issue: Kashmir.
Right. When we move forward, you during the retaliation when you counter strike, you were also shot. You also shot terrorists and you were also gunned down. So when you were gunned down, how was the feeling like? Because when you go against a terrorist, everyone fears. And how do you feel like, मेरे को जाके इसको मारना है, I have to save the country? You have no fear in your eyes when you see them. So how has that come? How has that developed? आज का एपिसोड एक बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग एपिसोड है एंड एक इंस्पिरेशनल एपिसोड है बिकॉज आज हम पॉडकास्ट कर रहे हैं विद कर्नल नीलेश पाठरकर सर. वेलकम टू द मानव शो सर. सर, आपने आर्मी ज्वाइन करने का कैसे सोचा? बिकॉज यू वर द फर्स्ट पर्सन आपके फैमिली से जो इंडियन आर्म फोर्सेस ज्वाइन करने जा रहे थे, तो ये डिसीजन आया कैसे?
See, my mother was. It was 1962 when the India-China war took place.
Mm-hmm.
My mother would be at that time about 18 years old. And she has been a nationalist throughout her life. During those years when she was 18 in 1962, so you can imagine the era I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
When a typical Maharashtrian family never wanted a woman to be going out and doing tremendously well in her life.
Right.
But after the 62 war started off, she underwent a nursing course and she was hell-bent on getting into the armed forces as a nurse.
Oh. Okay.
So I think it is my getting into the army has got a lot to do with the nationalistic ideas of my mom. That's what it is.
Okay. So that is the story that where it comes from your mother. So it was your mother's dream. She wanted to join the army, and then you took it forward.
If not her, then her son.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, sir, after joining the army, you joined the army and you decided to join the para forces also, which is known as the para commando forces.
Yes.
So, how did that come in?
So I was pretty lucky. You see, I always wanted to join the para special forces. But unfortunately, I could not when I got commissioned. I got commissioned in 93.
Right.
And there was only one vacancy.
Mm-hmm.
And the most deserving person at that time was given that choice of joining the para forces, which he did. Today he's done a wonderful job for our nation.
Okay.
Now, since I couldn't join it during that time, I got into the Maratha regiment. And it so incidentally happened that the Indian Army at that time had 3 para-special forces units, and they wanted to convert one infantry unit into a para-special forces unit. And luckily, they chose the unit where I had got commissioned. And this is how I volunteered for the para-special forces. In fact, I was doing my commando course. Every officer, infantry officer, has to undergo a commando course in Belgaum.
Okay.
For about 42 days. Okay. It would be somewhere in the mid of my commando course when my basic directing staff, that's your officer who's in charge of your training, he came to me and said that there is a voluntary form for you to join Para-Special Forces. It's a voluntary organization, so you can not volunteer also. I said, why should I? I want to do it.
Right.
So my Para-Special Forces training after I volunteered actually started on the same day. Because unfortunately or fortunately, that instructor was also from one para-SF. So when the others in the commando was just sleeping, this particular Major Saab at that time used to be having me. So my unofficial probation of the Special Forces started when I was in the commando force.
Okay. So, but when you say about the para commando, the training is very intense. It is very like a hell. So, what does the para commando goes under a training? How is the training like?
So I'm talking about my days.
Right.
What used to happen during my days is that an officer used to get commissioned in the Indian Army. He used to opt for XYZ para-SF unit. He used to go to that unit per se. I can say nowadays every officer who gets commissioned goes first to the para-training center in Bangalore where he undergoes his basic para-training. But during our days, the training used to be conducted by the unit, and the unit used to take immense pride in conducting this training. Now, as I told you, that my unit was a Marathi unit. So, we were trained by officers and instructors, jawans, of 9 para-SF and 10 para-SF. So, 21 para-SF is what I was in. We were given the shape of 21 para-SF by the 9 para-SF and the 10 para-SF officers. There was a person called as, we used to call him, as Mad Max. You know, the old movie Mad Max.
Right.
So the day used to start 5 o'clock in the morning with PT, physical training for 1 hour, followed by weapon training, followed by situation tests, followed by your classes, followed by 1 hour of training in the evening. This training is what I'm talking about, is a syllabus-based training. But that was not all. I can only say one thing, that I can remember one thing, that I do not remember sleeping in these 3 months. Obviously, I would have.
Right.
It's physically not possible. But the training was tremendously intense. It was so intense that at times you had to, switch off your mind and carry on with your training. Because it was not physically possible for any human being to undergo the training alone. So we were a group of about 129 people who underwent the training. And that is the first cycle of the conversion of my unit from another unit to a Special Forces unit. And out of 129, it's approximately just about 29 to 30 people managed to complete that probation of 3 months. And mind you, all of them were from infantry. So infantry is an organization which is capable of doing a task which no one else does. And para-SF is an organization which is capable of doing a task much, much more than what an infantry would be.
So you said that you were trained to handle weapons during your para training. So which is your favorite weapon like during training? Everybody has.
So during our days, again, I'm talking about 94.
Right.
Things have drastically changed. So the best weapon which I used during my training was an Uzi.
Uzi. Okay.
Yeah, I love to fire. I used to love to fire AK also.
At that time, AK-47s were very common, right? Or
well, they were not very common. AK-47s at that time were basically given to either the para units or they were given to units which were then which were fighting counter terrorism. Otherwise, the basic weapon at that time was called as an SLR. 7.62 SLR. Then we started converting into our converting our weapon systems, and then we came up with our SAS rifles. But the para-SF at that time, the personal weapon used to be AK-47.
Okay. So moving forward, in 1999, you were being posted at Uri. And during that time, उसके पहले कारगिल war हुआ था, तो वो time पे situation कैसा था JNK में? Because it was very intense at that time,
Yes.
and you getting posted. So how was the atmosphere? How was the feeling?
So by 1999, I was out of Paris and I came back to my parent unit, which was Marathas, very Marathas. And initially, when the Kargil war started, our unit was posted in Guj. So when the Kargil war was going on, we were deployed at the Run of Kutch, at the international border between India and Pakistan.
Right.
Now, after this, the Kargil war getting over, our unit moved from Run of Kutch to Uri. So I distinctly remember taking over a company in Uri at an altitude of about 9,000, 10,000 plus. And the company commander of the unit which we replaced was very happy. He told me that, Nilesh, don't worry. This is a peacetime, beautiful looking, amazing mountains and lovely scenery in this entire duration of Kargil war. We never saw a single firefight in this area. The minute we took over, things changed. I don't know why. Was it because of my good or bad luck? But I think the second or third day, the fighting between India and Pakistan started off. And it started off with somewhere where I was.
Mm-hmm.
And then the entire Uri sector was on fire. And we had to retaliate equally back. So, yes, where I was posted in Uri, I was if this is the place where I posted, I was surrounded by Paki posts, which were all on top of me. So, we were like sitting ducks to the Pakis at that time, but then we had other means of engaging them. Okay. But there was a lot of infiltration also, which used to be taking place from that area.
Right.
And we were not part of the infiltration, counter-infiltration. We were basically in charge of only looking at the line of control. There was someone else sitting behind us who were taking care of the counterinsurgency.
Okay. But, sir, I would just want to know, like, you have been in the army for 32 years, you have served so much, you know everything, you have experienced so much. What exactly Pakistan wants?
What does Pakistan want? Okay. So,
and why so much?
Pakistan, if you see on any international forum, United Nations, or any goddamn forum where the Pakis would like to just go and blower around, they are fixed on only one issue: Kashmir.
Right.
Which is out of their hands. What is in their so-called hands today is POK, which won't remain, I suppose, which won't remain for a very long time now.
Right.
They have, since they can't win a war on a one-to-one basis. Now, if you talk about 47, you talk about the Kargil conflict in the earlier stages, and you talk about the years and years of bleeding of India which Pakistan has been doing, it is only through their various terrorist organizations. For Pakistan Army to directly get involved in a one-to-one conflict with India is not possible. Hence, they keep sending terrorists, they keep bleeding us. And I think this was one time since 2016, since this new government has taken over.
Right.
Things have changed. It is not that when we were posted in JNK earlier, it's not that we never went across. We did. We definitely did go across. But there was a difference. We went across, we came back, everything was hush-hush. Things have changed. The government has changed for the better, is what I feel. We're doing something on the lines of what probably Israel has been doing for years and years. They do it and they show it to the world that they've done it. We showed it to the world that we could carry out surgical strikes.
Right.
We showed it to the world that we could do power. And now we have shown to the world what we have so far done in Operation Sindoor. Mind you, it's still on.
Right. Yeah. So when you say it's still on in Portugal, in the Indian embassy, I was just reading through it. There was some protest going on, and when the Indian embassy and the consulate came out, they came out with banners stating that Operation Sindoor is not over yet.
It is not.
Yeah.
It's really not.
So with this government coming in, it's getting loud. As you also said, the government has changed. So do you think that this government has brought a storm in the army or has changed the mindset of the people?
As far as the army is concerned and the civilian population is concerned, there are two different aspects. Right. Whether it was 93, 94, 95, or even before that. Whether it is 2016, 2024, 2024, 2025, the army still remains the same,
right,
as vigilant as ever. We are not a Pakistani army, which decides what the nation does. We are an Indian army, which decides the policies of the government. So the policies of the government during those days were different. During now is different. Personally, if you ask me, I support what the present policies are.
The present policy?
Yes, okay, definitely. I support. That's my personal point of view.
Okay. But so when it comes to Pakistan also, they don't have the power is not with the government. It is said that the army rules everything. And if you see Chief Munir also, they have launched the war.
Wait, not chief now.
Yeah, he's not. He's a field marshal. Sorry. Yeah, he's promoted himself. I was coming to that point only, that he's promoted himself and he's saying that we have won over India, and that statement makes them look like a joker.
Yeah. So be it. You may think so. So be it. But I think we have categorically shown it to the world what we have done.
Right.
What we are capable of doing in the future. I think that's it. It doesn't matter what Munir thinks. He could think whatever he wants to think. But finally, if Operation Sindoor restarts, Munir has to face the brunt of the Indian Army and the Air Force.
Right.
And the Navy, mind you, has not even come to picture.
Yeah. It has not started yet. It's just the S-400 that's working right now.
Let's not talk about it because everyone knows that there are so many channels going on.
Right. Okay. So when we move forward, you during the repatriation, when you counter-strike, you were also shot. You also shot terrorists and you were also gunned down. So when you were gunned down, how was the feeling like? Because when you go against a terrorist, everyone fears. And how do you feel like, I have to save the country? You have no fear in your eyes when you see them. So how has that come? How has that developed?
So it is unfair to say that there is no fear. Okay. As our great Sam Manisha used to say, that there is probably only one person who does not have fear in his mind, and that is a Gurkha. It is good to have fear. There's a reason for that. It puts you on a front foot. It makes you more vigilant. You become less careless. So, a little amount of fear is definitely required. You're a human being, finally. So, in the year, it was 2002 when I was shot. We were given information that there are about 5 terrorists hiding in a particular house in a particular village. This was in Panihal, South Kashmir. And unfortunately for me, I did not have my entire company with me during that time because the company was busy. There is something called as road opening. You open the road in the mornings. Right. And by last light, then the road closes. So I had maybe 3 or 4 of my combatant soldiers, and there were non-combatant soldiers, something like a Tubi or RBC is what the person who looks after the dogs dogs, or your langar staff, cooks, barbers. So these are all non-combatants. Your attachers, they're all fortunate might do.
Right.
They know how to fight, but they're not. Their primary task is not fighting. So I had to send about 15 odd boys, which we went to a house. We started searching the house. There were 4 rooms, to the ground floor and 2 at the top floor. So check the first room, check the second room. We had surrounded the house by the way. And me and one of my boys was actually searching the rest of the house. Check the third room. So when you were searching a room, you are actually supposed to be giving a cover fire to the person who's trying to enter the room. Before giving a covering fire, one should not enter the room. This is what possibly happened in the last room. And I was right behind my boy, and he got a straight headshot. And he died there. And in that way, मेरे दोनों पैरों में गोलियां लगी. My left femur bone was shattered, and I couldn't do much. So I crawled behind slightly, so that they're not able to pull my body inside. And they were shouting, "Katte." Probably during that time, my boys down below started firing at the door, and hence they could not get out of the door. And then I distinctly heard one of them say, "Major Saab ko maar diya." So it is not only we who collect it of the terrorists. They also know which is the Major Saab jo ye ilaka control kar raha hai.
Right.
And this had happened at about 5:30. Then the reinforcements started coming and firing, counter-firing. I was still lying there in that baraya, and I had my weapon pointed towards the door. अगर कोई बाहर आएगा तो मैं तो उसको ठोक दूंगा भाई. He's going to kill me anyway, so might as well go for him first. बाकी देखी जाए ऊपर वाला है. And this fight went on till about 10:30, 11 in the night. And I was lying there. And there was a lot of blood. So the question you asked, how did you feel when I was shot? There was a burning sensation. It was a hot sensation. I never knew before how it is to get shot. So yes, but I knew that I was shot. And then there was no pain per se. I couldn't move a head. But I think my concentration was towards anyone coming on. So I was like this from 5:30 in the evening till about 10:30 in the night. बीच में नींद आती थी, सबकी आती थी. Then I still went to घर जाया, टीवी को देखना है, पेरेंट्स को देखना है, बच्चों को देखना है. So stay away. Something about that. And by about 10:30 in the night, my commanding officer, along with his reaction team, came. During those days, we hardly had any night vision devices. So when the commanding officer came, he came along with the night vision device and climbed on to a roof which is opposite the house. And still remember this person, the name of the person is Chandu. So Chandu was looking at me through the night vision device. I said, "Saab थोड़े से हिल रहे हैं." So I think my commanding officer said, "क्या बात कर रहा है? 6 घंटे हो गया. I don't think he's there." Like, so Chandu still, and Chandu then shouted in Marathi, "कि साहब जिंदा हो क्या को? अगर को तो हाथ खड़ा करो बस." So I moved my hand from the weapon. That is the time when they came to know that I'm alive. And these militants at that time were trying to get from one house to the other. In Kashmir, a lot of houses are interconnected. At the same time, I think they had oofed off their ammunition because unse firing completely band ho gaya. Sorry. That is the time when I told my guys to come up, because I did not want anyone to come up before that. Or a casualty kiske liye. So they came up. I threw 4 grenades inside. Shot at these guys, and it was all over. And then I was shifted to a place called as 92 Base Hospital, Srinagar, where they say कि आदमी के पास अगर इतनी सी पल्स बचे ना, तो doctors are so good कि they'll pull it. Yeah, so I was in the hospital for about a month there, after which I was shifted to Udhampur, where they did my restructuring of my femur bone, because about 3 inches of my femur bone had blown off. And then was hell, because there was physiotherapy like that. But it was a different experience altogether. I came out of it.
The story gives goosebumps. Just listening to it gives goosebumps.
This is a very short portion of the story.
Yeah, means आपने 2 bullets ली, that also knee, and you're walking right now, so it's God's grace. भगवान का आशीर्वाद है कि आप इतने lucky थे कि you can walk. You were still after that started serving the country, started serving the nation. It still gives goosebumps. ऐसे और कोई stories है जो आप बताना चाहोगे या memories है आपके?
Yes, one such was an operation. Again, strictly Bull Chadu.
Okay.
And we had some information about a couple of terrorists that area, generally. So we were on a routine. When you say routine, it is routine, but it is intense.
Right.
So we were out on the patrol, and suddenly fire started. Suddenly we got down to the ground and took our positions. My men started. All of them fired, but I gave one. This was at about 10:30 in the morning. So I said, "Where are you guys firing?" क्योंकि देर पर तो कुछ नहीं करेगा, तुम लोग किसके ऊपर फायर कर रहे हो? My hawldaar said, दिखेगा बड़ा सा कीर है, पत्थर के अंदर कील है, दिखेगा वो टेररिस्ट। But बिल्कुल नहीं है। The story is that I am a partially colorblind person in that category कि इसके नीचे अगर colorblind होता है तो I would have been very restricted by that. So I was lucky. So I said, मैं वो कुछ नहीं देख रहा, जब तक मेरे को दिखेगा नहीं, तब तक what action can I do? So I said, keep firing at the place where you guys are, firing, and you're seeing that. I took one of my guys, पीछे से जाके both of us climbed on top of that so-called rock. ऐसे semicircular hanging sort of rock. I want to see okay. So I kept my head down because fight was still on. We were doing some fight. उसने 3-4 grenades लिए. I said, yeah, fine, but yes. उससे grenades 3-4 his उसके पास 3 grenades. या तो मर गया या तो उसका मिशन खत्म हो गया. That was my conclusion. तो मैं थोड़ा सा और देखने के लिए और नीचे गया, and it was a rainy season also at that time. So I don't know exactly क्या हुआ, but I presume कि मेरा जो बंदा मेरा मैन पकड़ रहा था, उसका हाथ स्लिप हो गया होगा या जो भी है. The next thing which I found that I got down
in the cave,
and I'm in the cave, and there is a guy who's taller than me and who's more heftier than me, about 6'2", 6'3", I was 6 foot, and we're standing in front of face to face, and उसने अपनी AK-47 फेंक दी है and just shot on him and became a head-to-head fight. What the hell? At that time, I was not as high as now. I was very agile, but I was thin. I choked him to death.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was your first hand-to-hand combat.
That was my first hand-to-hand combat.
Okay. Any one more if you could share?
So we had gone out on an operation. We had hard hit that there are couple of minutes in the village. At this point of time, there are chicken and rice.
Okay.
So, इतना तगड़ा है और सोच भी करा ऐसे हिम्मत से हम सोच रहा. So we said to finance, it's not being kind of a core question, so that they'll not be able to identify what are we also priorities. So we went in dressed, but hardly there was Gadi people, park people, key line actually. And we went in, we were like 6 months later. Baki baar portal lagaya. But under से सवार होता था कि पास गए. And we found the short. That's the time when the entire village turned against us. Probably because they thought, yeah, I'm integrated so right. Seeing they thought exclude. Affiliated, the village would be affiliated to that. अब ये कौन आ गए? हम कितने लोगों को खिलाए? इनको भागो. So they started throwing stones, they started throwing axes, anything and everything which they had, and we threw up. But वो फाइनल खुशी थी कि इनको तो मार दिया. But in the same operation, one of the terrorists had fired us, and हमारे एक बंदे को पीठ पे गोली लगी. And we ran to the courthead. So far so good. So we thought कि मार गया, you know. And suddenly one of my boys told the other guy, told my other boy that यार तेरे पीठ में ना खून है. So well, pulled up his silver. Silver बोलते हैं. When I pulled it up, I found that there was a bullet exit and entry and an exit on either side of the spinal cord. I don't have any idea how this guy managed to run from there to the roadside. But जब उसको पता चला, he just collapsed. Of course, he's white actually, but he's no longer able to walk. Yeah. So
बहुत अच्छी इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी.
so many of them.
फुटबॉल सबको बात करने लगे तो रात हो जाएगी. Okay, first you have served 32 years for the nation now. So now after retiring, what's your passion? What do you want to do?
Yeah. So before I retired, 2 years before that, I was in NCC in Maharashtra, and 2 years consecutively, I trained with the NCC boys and girls. I took them to Delhi for the lobby day parade, and ensured that there's a total of 70 directorates, states, troop union directorates, meet those 70 directorates. So Maharashtra is one of them, and there's a lot of competition there in Delhi. So we ensured that we win all the competitions there, and we were the coveted Prime Minister's banner. So I did manage to ensure that once the first year I had gone along with the country, the second year I did not go back training. So I was very satisfied with the fact that when बच्चों को mold कर सकता. That is the first time that I actually came to know, because मेरे बच्चों को तो मैंने मोल्ड नहीं किया है. That is being done by my wife and my dad and my mom. Most of the times I was मैं जब यहाँ पे आता था छुट्टी पे, तो बच्चों को कि डैड आ गया, चलो आज मैं आज XYZ place, enjoy it. So I was that part of that was for them. I was a person who comes on leave. That's true, that is that. But yeah, I did get the opportunity to train these NCC kids. So what I'm planning now is I don't want to get into a corporate world. There are no liabilities. My younger son is in US, my elder son is in the army. So what I'm planning to do is I've joined an NGO which takes care of underprivileged kids, specifically the girls in villages. And उनको अपने पैरों की ऊपर खड़ा करना है. That is the aim. So that is the thought process, and that's how we are going forward.
So that's your passion now.
That's the passion कि बच्चों को अपने पैरों पे खड़ा करें. So that is what I'm doing.
You also mentioned that your elder son is in army. How does it feel to you?
Oh, it feels wonderful. In fact, he's in the same unit that I was.
Okay.
And his first posting was in Uch. In the same place where I was posted, where I was Russia Rifles. So all the same posts, all the same routes, all the same areas where I had undertaken operations. He's seen all of them. Yeah, so it's a circle of life which comes back.
Right.
And presently he's in Grand Nations Peacekeeping Mission in South Sudan. So it feels both mom and dad are very proud of it.
Okay. So, sir, I would just like to end the podcast. At the end of the podcast, I would like to give a message to the youth who are in the uniform and also to the youth that do not wear the uniform.
Okay. So, point blank, there is no message required to the youths who are in uniform.
Okay.
I was there in uniform during my days, and a lot of veterans used to say, "हमारे ज़माने में हम ये करते, तुम क्या कर रहे हो?" And I've seen both sides of the story. There is no requirement of giving any advice to the men in uniform.
Okay.
They're far superior to possibly what even I was. As far as civilians are concerned, our major advice is trust your forces. The armed forces is the last asset as far as the country is concerned. Trust your forces. I believe in they will never let you down. Do not have small fights which you keep reading on the newspapers. This Fauji ke saath ladai ki, us Fauji ke saath ladai ki. I'm not saying Faujis are God's own.
Right.
At times they would be at fault. But the teaching is not to hit civilians. The teaching is to hit our adversary. So, अगर गलती हुई है फौजी से, तो छोटा मोटा डिस्प्यूट है, सॉल्व इट ऑन द एमिकेबली. गुस्सा मत करो फौजी को, बहुत गुस्सा आता है. And trust your fauji's. They are for you. They are for you 24/7, 365. That's all I would like to say.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. It was a very interesting podcast.
Thank you.
I got to learn a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay.
Yes.